What's up, Lost Boys? Here we are for another fantasy football video. This week we're going to do a week 5 recap, and then we're going to do a week 6 preview. But first, rip the Chiefs, man. That was absolutely brutal, guys. So, pretty shitty way to end the weekend. Hopefully we get back on track against the Lions this week, but it's going to be rough. But enough about those turd faces. Let's get into fantasy football. It was a kind of a meh week. A lot of big victories by some players. Some teams just didn't show up. This was our first week of buys, so you saw teams put out low output of points. But we're going to definitely start with by far our best game of the week this week. It was Justin versus Cass. This one came down to the wire, and Justin squeaks out a win. He actually gets super lucky, especially with last night and this week in general. Travis Etienne had his worst game of the season and cost Cass the game. It's pretty simple as that. And Zach Ertz got 0. First time in 10 years I saw today that Zach Ertz did not have a catch. So it's kind of brutal, especially with Washington putting up 27 points and Zach Ertz still not getting anything. Cass loses by 4 points. He could have really used this upset victory over Justin. Justin moves to 4-1, gets the dub. His guys are really good. Dak Prescott, Mac Jones gets him 22 points. So in general, Justin takes the dub. I mean, getting wins is all that matters, especially this year. Wins and points are king. Justin takes down Cass. Cass falls to 2-3, which 2-3 seems to be the theme this year. So big game for Justin. Next, we're going to look at Tim versus Denny. Denny gets the upset. He needed this win. He only had one win going in, and his boys perform. He takes down Tim by 11 points. Trey McBride needs to start doing something if Denny's going to make a run. But the big thing was Denny, Jackson Smith, and Jigba had a huge game for him. The bigger theme here was Denny getting the victory was the biggest, but Tim continues the trend of sub 150 point totals. I mean, 130 is not bad, but it's not really good. Jameson Williams 1 point. Travis, have you started Travis Hunter? He did good against the Chiefs because the Chiefs defense is absolutely awful. Woody Marks, not the best. He had Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt on his bench. He went off this week, and that would have been the difference. If he had Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt in instead of Woody Marks, he would have beaten Denny and gone to 4-1, which is crazy to think. But unfortunately, Tim falls. Denny gets the much-needed win this week, and Denny is now 2-3. Josh versus Cal. Cal takes down Josh. Josh continues the trend. He has the most points scored against, and Cal has one of his better weeks of the year, putting up 152 points. This was a teens game for Cal. All of his guys performed. I mean, he had a lot of touchdowns. Dylan Gabriel got the day started out right. In London, Spencer Rattler got him almost 16. Ashton Jennum got him 13. Sam Laporta had his best game of the year by far. Rashad Bateman got him 0, which was a little rough. But in general, Cal's team did pretty good. 152 is either his first or his second most points of the year. Josh, on the flip side, did awful this week. I mean, it was embarrassing. 125 points. He had his first-round pick, CeeDee Lamb, out. He had his third-round pick in Brock Bowers out. And he had 2 guys on bye. So his team was decimated to start out. I think Josh should be penalized a win this year. He should have to drop to 1-3 just for the fact that he started Taysom Hill this week. So rough week for Josh. Very bad fantasy manager by him this week. Cal gets the must-weeded win. And speak of the devil, both teams are 2-3. All right, next game we're going to go with Learning Computer versus Llama, and holy shit, this was an ass whooping. Ryan beat him by almost 70 points. I mean, there's not much more to say. Matt got a combined basically 7 points. He got 7 points from his quarterbacks combined, which is absolutely insane to say. And that wasn't even the worst. I mean, it was the worst part. But I mean, for Matt to score 102 points and get 26 from one guy and get 16 from his tight end, that shows you how bad the rest of his team in general is. He's really strong at running back, and then his whole team is awful. So Matt might need to have to work on a couple things. He falls to 2-3. Ryan gets a win. He goes to 3-2, and Ryan's team, like I said, he's been looking good. His quarterbacks are really good. Patrick Mahomes, Daniel Jones. He decided to bench Baker this week. I'm not sure why you would ever bench Baker, but I mean, he got scored 171 points, so apparently Ryan knows what he's doing. The Ibuka pick was the pick of the draft. I said maybe for him. Clearly, the guy's just been a monster. 27 more points this week. Jake Ferguson's #1 fantasy tight end so far this year, 20 points. And Rico Dowdle, Ryan picks him up earlier this week, starts him 30 points. I mean, Ryan checkmarked all the boxes this week. His team's rolling 3-2. Matt's team falls to what? 2-3. Finally, we're going to look at Jace versus Pat. Pat he's been last place, worst team in the league. His guys hadn't performed. And we're talking about Jace, first place in the league. His guys have been performing. So obviously, Jace is going to win this week, right? Nope. Pat, last place, takes down Jace, first place in a huge upset. Pat scores by far his most points of the year, 170 points. All of his guys performed. Marvin Harrison finally did something. He almost had a really good start to the day with a deep bomb that pulled the touchdown away because he landed on the 1-yard line. Jamar Chase finally shows up 26 points. Pat with a huge pickup of Rashard White gets him 21 points. Just in general, Pat's team finally showed up. He needed something from his receivers. He ended up getting nearly 50 points from them. That's the big deal. Jace, on the other hand, his team wasn't bad. I mean, he got 148 points, which is not bad, but he didn't get the monster games from, George Pickens got him almost 30 last week. He had to start Darius Slayton, which was really, really bad because he lost Tyreek Hill. But, DeMarcado had that 8-point swing when he dropped the fumble on the 1-yard line. So that would have been 8 more points, but it still wouldn't have mattered. Jace ends up losing by 22 to Pat. Pat gets a statement win. And what does Pat go to? 2-3. Jace falls to 3-2, but he still scores a lot of points and he still has the point lead. We'll get to the standings at the end. Next, we're going to look at week 6, guys. Week 6 is really big fantasy week just because of how close our league is. So many teams at 2-3 or 3-2. The one team that's not at 2 or 3 or 3-2, Justin, first place, 4-1. He's rolling. He faces Josh this week. This is always an epic matchup every year when these guys face each other. Projections are pretty close. We'll see how buys happen, but I don't think Justin really has any buys this week. I'm not sure Josh does really either, so it should be a pretty close matchup. I'm going to give the edge to Justin this week. His team's been rolling. He's been fortunate, but his team's just really good. Came out of the draft really good. And not to mention the fact that he kind of X's out Josh's first-round pick if CeeDee Lamb does come back. Which would be great for Josh. Unfortunately for him, Justin has Dak Prescott, which will cash in for a lot of those points. Not to mention Justin's matchups are just insane. Brock Purdy, if he starts, or Mac Jones, whichever one it is, they're going against Tampa. Tampa's defense has been terrible. Speaking of terrible defenses, the Ravens, worst defense in the league. Oh, guess who's facing them this week? Puka Nacua, which Justin has. So Justin's team's loaded. He has the first and second best fantasy player. He's 4-1. Josh has a solid team, but his team just goes in roller coasters, and it doesn't look like he's going to get back on track this week. I predict Josh falls to 2-4. Justin moves to 5-1. Next matchup is going to be Tim versus Pat. A huge matchup. Tim, I mentioned before, doesn't score a lot of points, but he's still 3-2. Pat has his best week of the year last week, but Pat doesn't really have a lot of points. We'll see. This is going to be a really, really close game. I am going to give the edge to Tim this week, actually. I think his quarterbacks have really good matchups. Jared Goff going against this putrid Chiefs D. Jaden Daniels going against that terrible Bears defense. I just think, Pat has really good matchups as well. So we'll see. I think this is the week Christian McCaffrey has one of those 30-point games and helps Tim barely eke out a win over Pat. I think this game's going to be crazy close. Both of these guys really need a win, especially Pat. Pat really needs a win because the first 4 games put him behind such an 8-ball with points. He has to do his best to try to make up the wins. So, big game this week. Next, we're going to go Denny versus Llama. Denny with a monster win last week. Ryan with a monster win destroys Matt Roman. Ryan, like I said, he's put up 170 points this past week. Denny, which just on the ticker comes in, Denny and Cal with a big trade. I think it was Tua for Denny's sending Tua, and Cal is sending Tyquan Thornton, I think is what the trade was. Either way, Denny looks like he needs a receiver, I guess, something like that. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait till those details come out, but trade coming in. We'll see if the trade can help him right now. Both of these teams are pretty even. You look at the quarterbacks, Herbert and Stafford, Mahomes and Baker. So both really, really good quarterbacks. I give the edge to Ryan right there. Receivers though, that's about a toss up. Abuka cancels out JSN, and then the running backs, Jameer Gibbs versus Saquon. I mean, this game's going to be really close. I'm going to give the edge to Ryan, and the main reason is Drake London I think comes back. I think Drake London has a really big game against the Bills because that's going to be a high scoring affair. So big matchup. I give the edge to Ryan. We'll see what the trade happens though. And next we're going to go with Learning Computer versus Cal. Matt versus Cal. Huge game. Matt's been on the downward spiral. He hasn't been putting up points at all. Cal gets a big win against Josh last week, but Cal in general hasn't really been putting up points that much this year. We'll see how his team performs. It's just kind of in a rough spot. Matt, the worst receivers in the league, but some of the best running backs. But it's mainly his quarterbacks. Jordan Love gets a great matchup though for Matt, and Geno Smith against Tennessee. Now Geno Smith has been the worst quarterback in the league. If you can't get it right versus Tennessee, we got a problem. I'm going to give the edge to Matt here. I think his quarterbacks finally do something to help him get a victory this week. Take down Cal. Cal doesn't really have the best of matchups in general. So we'll see. Either way, I'm going to give the slight edge to Matt. They both need this win. Both guys have low point totals, and both guys are 2-3. And last but not least, we got my matchup of the week: Cass versus Jace. Huge matchup. Jace was rolling at the beginning of the season, 3-0, destroying everyone. He's lost 2 in a row. Now, a couple tough games for him. He's still scoring points, but his opponents are going crazy. Cass barely loses this past week. Like I said, slight loss to Justin. He really needed something from a couple of his guys. Couldn't get it. We'll see what Cass does this week. Unfortunately, I got to give the edge to Jace. I think the gap in quarterback play is just too much to ignore. You're talking Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts against Justin Fields and Bryce Young. I love you, Cass. Your team in general looks okay, but those quarterbacks are just putrid. So I'm going to give the edge to Jace. I think Jace gets back in the win column, and I think Jace, scores a lot of. He's back to scoring a lot of points. I mean, he scores points every week. So we'll see how he handles that Tyreek Hill injury. He did not handle it well this past week, but I think his team overall is insanely good. He does have the fantasy MVP so far this year in Jonathan Taylor. So those are my predictions, guys. We're going to look at the standings real quick. Like I mentioned before, Justin, only 4-1 team. A lot of points, too. He has 758 points, which is, I think, third most in the league, so his points are good. Justin's sitting pretty up at the top. And then you have Sweet Chin and Llama and ICU. That's the top 4 playoff teams. Those guys are 3-2. Jace has a clear gap. I mean, Jace is almost 200 points ahead of Tim, even though their records are tied. So that's your top 4. Then you got a big gobble of the next 6 guys. They're all 2-3. They're all separated by tiebreakers based on points. So this league is going to be insanely close, guys. We added the thing in, the punishment where you got to do the stand-up, and I love it that it's this close. I mean, this is going to come down to the wire. Last week of the season, it may even come down to points. So going to be super fun the rest of the season to see where each of us goes. Fantasy's a crazy monster. But love you guys. Have a great day. Go Chiefs. Go Bears. Oh, and Pat, go Cubs. See you guys.